Iddo Landau, Finding Meaning in an Imperfect World. Embark on a philosophical exploration of the meaning of life by diving into Finding Meaning in an Imperfect World, by Iddo Landau. In this summary, you'll discover what it means to seek value in life and investigate common misconceptions around the meaning of life, such as perfectionism, avoiding suffering, and the illusion of free will. Through thought-provoking arguments, you'll learn how death doesn't make life meaningless and how intrinsic value enriches your existence. Ultimately, understanding and embracing these concepts will help you navigate a fulfilling and rewarding journey through life.
The pursuit of value. The meaning of life often boils down to the concept of value. People perceive their lives as meaningful when they pursue activities, goals, and purposes they deem worthwhile. When we search for the meaning of life, we're essentially inquiring about what we find valuable. When someone says their life feels meaningless, they're often expressing a lack of value in their experiences. A life devoid of worthwhile pursuits can feel empty and unfulfilling. Take the talented novelist, Leo Tolstoy, for example. Despite his successful career and loving family, he experienced a crisis, feeling as if his life had lost all meaning. His work no longer held value to him, and he was left wondering, what's the point, in a state of despair. This sentiment demonstrates that even the most accomplished individuals can lose sight of their purpose when the things they care about no longer hold significance to them. When pondering the purpose of our existence or questioning the objectives we're striving for, we're fundamentally asking ourselves about value. It's not enough for us to simply chase any ambition, we need to pursue a goal that we genuinely consider deserving of our time and effort. Recognizing the worth of our endeavors determines whether we'll perceive our lives as meaningful or not. Take, for instance, your neighbor who devotes his life to collecting tea towels. Most people wouldn't believe that such a mission could instill a sense of purpose, as they don't see value in accumulating dishcloths. However, if your neighbor genuinely perceives his pursuit as valuable, there's no reason why this undertaking can't provide his life with meaning. By finding value in what he does, he gains a clear goal around which he can orient his existence. In essence, our search for the meaning of life leads us to question what we consider valuable. Our lives gain purpose and significance when we invest our time and energy in objectives that we deem worthwhile. Consequently, engaging in meaningful pursuits helps fill our lives with a sense of direction and fulfillment. By understanding the importance of value in our lives, we can better grasp the elements that shape our sense of meaning and happiness. Debunking perfectionism's trap. Many individuals believe that a meaningful life must involve attaining something remarkable, perpetuating the idea that an ordinary life is meaningless. This mindset stems from perfectionism, which is inconsistently applied and results in unrealistic expectations. However, perfection isn't essential for life to be fantastic, and reassessing these beliefs can bring a greater sense of meaning to our everyday lives. Philosophers throughout history have often preached the necessity of achieving greatness to lead a meaningful life. Consequently, perfectionism has pervaded our modern perception of meaning, with many individuals convinced that life is all or nothing. If they aren't discovering groundbreaking theories or dedicating their existence to noble causes, their lives appear devoid of meaning. While most of us aren't Einsteins or Mother Teresas, does it mean our lives are inherently meaningless? Upon closer examination, the notion of perfectionism crumbles. Life might appear fantastic if everything were perfect, but something doesn't need to be flawless to be genuinely wonderful. Furthermore, perfectionism comes with its fair share of inconsistencies. Perfectionists about life's meaning often fail to apply the same standards to other aspects of their lives, resulting in numerous double standards. These individuals seldom dismiss an experience or accomplishment as insignificant, merely because it didn't achieve perfection. For example, they won't berate themselves for scoring less than a perfect grade or not indulging in the finest cuisine. Therefore, applying such unrealistic expectations to our understanding of life's meaning appears equally illogical. Moreover, the demands perfectionism imposes are often implausible, setting individuals up for disappointment. Just as we wouldn't expect a dog to drive a car or criticize a friend for lacking superhuman abilities, we shouldn't condemn ourselves for living lives that aren't extraordinary by some impossible standard. By dismantling the fallacies associated with perfectionism, we can begin to embrace our everyday lives and uncover the inherent meaning that resides within them. Embracing life's fleeting values. Sisyphus, a Greek mythological character, was forced to perform an unending and repetitive task with no actual value. This tale, while seemingly bleak, challenges the notion that death makes life meaningless. We consistently invest our efforts and appreciate things that don't last forever, and our everyday actions prove that temporary value is still valuable. In this context, it's important to cherish life's impermanent accomplishments, beauties, and moments. Picture yourself being handed an enormous, weighty boulder and requested to shove it up a slope. After an arduous struggle, reaching the summit, weary and panting, you see the boulder roll back downhill. There you are, repeatedly grappling with the same immense endeavor. Undeniably, such an existence seems frivolous. Enter Sisyphus, a Greek mythological figure condemned to perform this futile, eternal feat. Sisyphus myth may be nothing more than ancient folklore, yet it bears considerable relevance for us all. As acclaimed French author Albert Camus posited, we share a likeness to Sisyphus. Regardless of our successes or the heights we ascend, the metaphorical boulder topples back, and life ends. A superficial analysis of this parable could imply that our actions hold no intrinsic worth. Nevertheless, the value of life is not dependent upon an endpoint, or lack thereof. Death, contrary to certain philosophical ideas, does not render life meaningless. Many argue that anything short of eternal has no value, a stance unsupported by evidence or reasoning. In fact, our day-to-day living contradicts this belief. If we genuinely accepted that temporal existence has no value, our lives would be devoid of action, intention, and passion. Consider a common scenario: cleaning a messy kitchen floor. Most people, once in a while, will roll up their sleeves and sweep and scrub the tiles. They, and everyone in the household, frequently appreciate a clean environment. Nevertheless, despite the cleanliness being brief before the floor requires attention again, temporary cleanliness retains its significance. A myriad of other examples demonstrate our appreciation for transitory value. Take, for instance, an enchanting tree in a garden. Although fated to perish, one can bask in its shade, marvel at its vibrant foliage, and perhaps even savor the fruits that it provides. Would you consider this tree's existence trivial? The majority would argue the contrary, acknowledging its worth. This affirmation of fleeting worth extends beyond flora. It is particularly applicable to life itself. Consequently, it is vital to recognize and treasure the transient accomplishments, beauty, and instances of our existence. Meaningful life beyond free will. Life carries meaning and value even if we don't believe in the existence of free will. Whether our choices are shaped by external factors or our genetic predispositions, what we ultimately achieve and accomplish is what makes our existence meaningful. The debate on determinism still thrives among philosophers, but the viewpoint indicates that free will isn't the only element determining the significance and purpose of our lives. Do you ever wonder if everything that occurs stems from a cause? It seems logical since nothing appears to happen without reason. Picture letting go of your phone. Gravity forces it to fall instead of soaring into the air. Unquestionably, a cause is present, such as gravity. Some might argue that free will, the ability to make choices, plays a part. However, even the urge to drop something valuable has an underlying cause. This notion proposes that free will is a mirage. Nevertheless, it doesn't make our decisions worthless. Life maintains its meaning even in the absence of free will's belief. Determinism, the concept that everything has a cause, suggests that our actions and choices are predetermined by external forces. Although philosophers debate regarding determinism and the existence of free will, life doesn't lose its meaning even if determinism holds. Various aspects of life, such as sports and art, carry meaning without relying on free will. A talented athlete's greatness partly hinges on their genes, which they didn't choose. Instead, we value and admire their achievements, regardless of the initial choice to pursue that path. This admiration extends to other areas like music, literature, and art. Mozart and Shakespeare's genius status remains unchallenged, even though they couldn't select their innate talents. Consider this thought experiment: if Shakespeare had an equally determined twin but without his natural talents, would we appreciate them both equally? It's unlikely, as we primarily venerate the talented Shakespeare due to his achievements. The experiment proves that free will isn't the sole factor in defining meaning and value in life. In essence, pondering upon determinism and free will shouldn't intimidate our life's purpose. Whether we have control over our choices or external factors guide our paths, the accomplishments we achieve and the value we create are what ultimately determine the meaning of our lives. These victories are celebrated and cherished, regardless of the free will versus determinism debate. Life's intrinsic value. Life doesn't necessarily need a specific goal to be meaningful, it can be meaningful for its own sake. Philosophers differentiate between extrinsic and intrinsic value. Extrinsic value lies in achieving a particular outcome, while intrinsic value exists independently without leading to any other end. Often, we seek justification for our actions through a chain of questions and answers, but it stops when we reach something we believe has intrinsic value. Numerous aspects of life are intrinsically valuable, so life doesn't need a definitive goal to have meaning, it's valuable simply by existing. As we go about our daily lives, we often engage in activities with specific goals, attributing meaning to completing those tasks. We might assume that for life to be meaningful, it too requires a goal or purpose. However, that's not necessarily the case. Life's meaning can be found in the simple act of living itself. To understand this, we must differentiate between extrinsic and intrinsic value. Extrinsic value is associated with activities that serve as a means to achieve a valuable goal, whereas intrinsic value pertains to things that have value in and of themselves. These intrinsically valuable things don't require any additional justification or linkage to another outcome. Consider the familiar situation of playing the why game with young children. The questioning might start with a simple action, like going to the store, and progress to seeking candy for enjoyment. The questioning stops at this point because enjoyment is seen as having intrinsic value, it doesn't need to lead to anything else to be meaningful. This same idea can be applied to life itself. Life doesn't need a definitive goal, like advancing science or serving a higher purpose, to be meaningful. Instead, life is intrinsically valuable and meaningful simply by being lived. Numerous elements of our existence hold intrinsic value, such as enjoyment, justice, or spirituality. Embracing life's inherent worth allows us to appreciate the act of living as fulfilling and meaningful without depending on external goals or purposes. Paradox of the end. We often pursue goals with the hope of finding meaning, yet once we achieve them, that meaning sometimes dissipates, leaving us feeling empty. This phenomenon, known as the paradox of the end, can make life seem meaningless. However, losing meaning does not equate to a meaningless life. Some goals offer lifelong meaning, such as raising a child or overcoming a great challenge. Additionally, ongoing life pursuits, like being a fantastic parent or teacher, provide continuous satisfaction. Furthermore, the paradox of the end isn't an inevitable experience for everyone. It can be influenced by factors like education and upbringing, which we can change or adapt. By recognizing these patterns, we can approach goals with a healthier mindset. Meaning amidst suffering. Life can seem unbearable with its myriad of pains, ranging from illness to heartache, often leading people to perceive life as meaningless. Arthur Schopenhauer, the famous philosopher of suffering, supported this idea by emphasizing the prevalence of pain in our lives. However, Schopenhauer's view is flawed. It's essential to acknowledge that life has meaning besides suffering. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, showcased this through his experiences in concentration camps by finding purpose in helping others and envisioning a better future. Although malicious acts are easily noticeable, extraordinary kindness and beauty cannot be overlooked, reminding us of the inherent value in life. The ubiquity of pain and suffering can make life feel unbearable at times, with misfortunes such as illness, grief, and heartache. It's no surprise some come to believe that life is devoid of meaning. This sentiment was famously expressed by Arthur Schopenhauer, who contended that suffering usurps life, and even the smallest pleasures are tinged with pain. Schopenhauer's reasoning, however, is not bulletproof. Pain and meaning are separate entities, and countless individuals throughout history have led meaningful lives despite severe adversity. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, documented the tenacity of some concentration camp prisoners who found meaning by assisting others or nurturing hope for the future in his book, Man's Search for Meaning. Apart from personal suffering, the deliberate infliction of pain upon others may also foster a bleak outlook on life, questioning the goodness of human nature. The existence of concentrated evil, like concentration camps, can indeed be disheartening. Nonetheless, focusing solely on the bad overlooks the remarkable acts of love, kindness, and beauty that humans are capable of creating. Ultimately, life's meaning exists beyond pain and suffering, and finding that purpose requires recognizing the beauty, kindness, and positive impact we can have on the world. Like Viktor Frankl's experiences demonstrate, life's meaning can be derived from helping others and holding on to hope, even in the darkest of times. Unearthing life's meaning. Recognizing that life isn't meaningless, you can take steps to find meaning in your life through structured reflection, gaining perspective, and becoming more aware of what and who you value. Create new habits that foster appreciation for the meaningful things around you and use them to form a fulfilling life. There's no substantial reason to deny yourself a meaningful life. The challenge, however, lies in discovering that meaning. Feeling like life is meaningless often stems from not having a grasp on what we truly value. By engaging in thoughtful reflection, you can take decisive steps towards a more meaningful existence. To embark on this journey, practice structured self-reflection. Begin by listing aspects that are already meaningful in your life and contemplate how you can enhance or remove them. If you're unsure, think about the lives of friends and those you admire, what makes their lives meaningful. A powerful way to determine what truly matters is by imagining your future self with only a few months, or even days, to live. What achievements would fill you with pride? What regrets would weigh on you? Envisioning your mortality can shed light on the importance of meaning in the present. Often, we only acknowledge the importance of certain aspects of our life when faced with the prospect of losing them. Don't wait for adversity to strike before recognizing the value all around you. Instead, cultivate an awareness of your tendencies to overlook value in your life. Understand the reasons behind this. Do you set unrealistic standards for yourself, for example? Unveiling these habits can provide insight into how to address them. Finally, make small, incremental changes to create new habits that nurture an appreciation for life's meaningful aspects. Attempt to see the everyday occurrences with fresh eyes, grasping the value they hold. By dedicating time and effort to this process, finding meaning in your life becomes not just achievable, but an enriching and transformative experience.
It's time to reflect on the thought-provoking ideas and key takeaways from Iddo Landau's Finding Meaning in an Imperfect World. As you've seen, the quest to discovering the meaning of our existence involves understanding the value we create in our lives. Embracing the imperfections of life, letting go of perfectionism, and acknowledging that suffering doesn't negate meaning are essential ingredients for meaning and fulfillment. Pondering our mortality, seeking intrinsic values, and learning from the experiences and inner growth of others can help in the quest for a meaningful life. Ultimately, it's by realizing this wisdom that you can shape a life of value, purpose, and fulfillment.